What's up, guys? It's Numpire again, and welcome back to World of Warships. Today, I want to discuss the upcoming ranked season. So, for this upcoming ranked season, the Bronze League, which everybody will start in, is now Tier 6 and Tier 7, Silver League's Tier 8 and 9, and then Gold League is Tier 10. So today, I want to talk about Bronze League, and what ships I personally recommend you use for this upcoming ranked season. So, I have it filtered all Tier 6 and 7 boats, as you can see. I'm going to start with the only aircraft carrier I really recommend for this, and that is the Ryujo. The reason why is the Ryujo is the strongest of the Tier 6 aircraft carriers in my opinion. With its aircraft, especially the torpedo bombers, they hit hard, they're fast. So really the Ryujo is honestly the only aircraft carrier I really recommend in this ranked season. I don't think we'll see a whole lot of aircraft carriers. If you do, plenty of the ships you can handle a carrier at Tier 7. You start to be able to handle at least a Tier 6 carrier at Tier 7. So let's move on to ships that I recommend more than an aircraft carrier. Let's start off with Yudachi. Yes, the infamous poi boat. So, Yudachi. Why do I recommend the Yudachi? Well, it's torpedo capability. 63 knots with my current build, which does include the torpedo captain build and this equipment right here, which increases torpedo speed by 5%, giving you a speed of 63 knot torpedoes at 15 kilometers. And you get 8 of them. Also, you get the torpedo reload booster and the smoke screen. So you actually can launch 16 torpedoes and still have a smoke screen. Now her guns are standard Imperial Japanese Navy guns. They load, with my current captain build, at about 10 seconds. But they do kind of hit hard, but really you're there for the torpedoes. So, Yudachi is a ship I would recommend, even over that of its sister ship, the Shiratsuyu. The Shiratsuyu torpedoes are faster, but they are shorter range. Yudachi would just give you more flexibility and more range, and the more range you have with torpedoes, the more likely you are to be effective with them. So, moving on, the Miyoko sisters, I have the ARB versions. These would be decent kiters, but, I mean, cruisers in this mode are going to be really squishy, even the Tier 7 and Tier 6. Now, the Miyokos would be good kiters. They do have a good range of 15.6 kilometers, but it's the armor. I mean, 16 millimeters, every battleship you're coming up against is overmatching you. And you do get hydro, so the cruisers, that would be their saving grace, is them having hydro. I don't think any of the battleships, I don't even think the Gneisenau has hydro at Tier 7. So, a kiting cruiser I think could work. We'll just have to see how the meta plays out. But yeah, the Miyoko sisters, the ARP ships and the normal Miyoko would be quite effective in my opinion. But a kiter in a small team versus small team, a kiter really doesn't do much. But we'll have to see how the meta plays out. Ashitaka, with its 16-inch guns, could work. I mean, you don't really need a 16-inch gun battleship at Tier 7 for this mode, and I'll explain that later. But yeah, this ship isn't horrible. She does do 30 knots, so she is a decent maneuverable ship. Her rudder shift is 14.9 seconds, which is a little slow, but I mean, it's a 16-inch gun battleship. You're overmatching all the bows of the battleships at this tier. And even some of the decks, so you can see even on the Ashitaka, it's only 26 millimeters. Yeah, 16-inch guns are going right through this. So, I mean, the Ashitaka could work. I don't know if Deadeye will be gone by then or not. I'd have to double check to see when the next patch comes out. I imagine Deadeye will be gone, and the Ashitaka's accuracy isn't the greatest. Alright, moving on. West Virginia, I mean, it's a Tier 6 battleship with 16-inch guns. I could see the appeal of maybe wanting to potentially bring another Tier 6 battleship into the matchmaker, but again, you don't need 16-inch guns. You don't. You don't need 16-inch guns. I'll explain that later when I get to a ship that I really recommend, but West Virginia I don't recommend. Same thing with the Colorado. Again, You don't need 16-inch guns, and these battleships are really slow for their tiers. I mean, 22 knots. And is that with a speed flag? Yes, that is with a speed flag. So take the speed flag off. It's a 21 knot based battleship. You're just waiting for a destroyer to come find you. Especially something like a Udachi, which can find you at 15 kilometers. You might not even know the torpedoes are coming. And with this thing's very slow speed, you're not going to be able to get out of the way. I really think destroyers are going to be very powerful in this rank season. And West Virginia and Colorado are just going to be just waiting victims for this upcoming clan season. Or this upcoming rank season. I do not recommend West Virginia or Colorado. I know some people really like the West Virginia and Colorado, but no, I'm sorry. If it was tier 6, I would say yeah, maybe, but not a tier 7 one. They're just better battleships with equal or even smaller guns that are perfectly capable of doing everything that these ships can do, and do it better. Mahan, I mean, it's a good little gunboat. She's got 4 or 5 guns. 5 guns. Decent rate of fire. She's a nice little gunboat. If you wanted to bring her, I could see her working decently well. Her torpedoes have a 9.2 kilometer range. Her concealment is 7.4 kilometers without a commander, without concealment. So she will be able to stealth torp. Her torps are rather slow, 58 knots. So this would be a good all-rounder in my opinion. I mean, there's always the Sims as well. With a concealment of 6.6 kilometers, with a really, really quick rudder shift of 2.7 seconds. And she's got 1 gun less. The Sims would be a good pick. Also, her torpedoes are faster, but they do have a much more limited range. But you could just mount the 10.5s. Yeah, you go down to 49 knots, which are practically sea mines. But even then, with 7 kilometer torpedoes, she can still stealth torp. Alright, moving on. Atlanta. A ship I really do recommend if you don't have the Flint. I would recommend the Flint over the Atlanta, but the Atlanta is a good boat. For one big reason, it's one of the very few ships at Tier 7 that has radar. Now, it's an 8.5 click radar, but as you saw with the Sims, that is going to limit some torpedo capabilities. And you would be able to hunt destroyers rather effectively. And yeah, the armor on the Atlanta is destroyer level. I mean, look at that, 13 millimeters. Yeah. You're not going to have a good time if you get shot at. But that's the thing about the Atlanta is you don't want to get shot at, period. So you hide behind islands and shoot over. With this thing's gun ballistics, it's pretty good. Although with the nerfed main battery firing range, 13.3 kilometers, you're going to be a bit close in a cruiser. And cruisers at Tier 7 are effectively made of paper, especially the Atlanta. But you can make it work. Those who are experienced with island camping, Atlanta would work quite well, especially with her vast number of turrets. I mean, she's got 8 turrets on her. And if there was an aircraft carrier, this is the big reason why I don't think there will be, is the Atlanta. This thing's got unlimited charges of DFAA. I would take DFAA if carriers are showing up. Worst case, you switch over to the Hydro. Hydro's going to be nice to have, but I mean, if you're going to come across, if people are really going to play Tier 6 carriers with the Atlanta being able to be brought out, bring the DFAA and make them suffer for it. That's what I say. New Orleans, if you are grinding through the American cruiser line, the New Orleans is a capable ship. She is still fragile at this tier. The cruiser, I mean, 25 millimeters isn't bad. I mean, it's just 1 millimeter smaller than that of the battleships of the same tier, even at lower tier. So the New Orleans, it could work. Again, she's going to be quite fragile. And even if you tried to angle, I mean, you still got all this 25 millimeter plating up here. So if the shells were to go just high enough, they would just rip through you anyway. But again, island camping, I could see New Orleans working. Same thing with the Boise. It's a similar ship. And they do come, and Boise is a light cruiser compared to New Orleans being a heavy cruiser. So New Orleans can beat the crap out of Atlantis. But 13-second reload, Boise's got a 10-second reload. So Boise, I think, would work relatively okay. And they both come with Hydro Acoustic Surge. Hydro is going to be, if you're in a cruiser, you're going to want to have Hydro. Because I think there's going to be a lot of destroyers around. So Boise and New Orleans do get my recommendation. They do get my seal of approval. I probably won't play them personally, but I could see them working effectively. I mean, Boise would be a decent HE spammer. I mean, with 25 millimeters of HE penetration, if you were to mount IFHE, you're going through pretty much all the decks, except for a few choice battleships. But yeah, as an HE spammer, Boise would work. Same thing with New Orleans. Indianapolis. I mean, this thing is known for being extremely fragile. It is a heavy cruiser though. 203 millimeter guns, 14.3 second reload, which I believe is that slower. Yes, that is slower than that of the New Orleans. Same number of guns. It does shoot farther, however, and it's another cruiser that has radar. And this one is a 10-click radar. So this is the standard American radar on a Tier 7 cruiser, and that will give destroyers a hard time. So Indy, if you're experienced with Indianapolis, I say you could take her. I personally won't. I'm not experienced with her. Moving on to another ship, I strongly recommend the Flint. Everything great I said about the Atlanta, the Flint has, except for 2 turrets, and it's got a smokescreen. Now you can switch to DFAA where you have unlimited amounts of charges, but I would say use the Hydro, because if you're in smoke, you're going to want to know if torpedoes are coming. So a Flint, I think, is great, because yeah, it has less artillery range at the moment. I know Wargaming is buffing this. I think it will match the Atlanta, but now you don't need an island. You can hide in your smokescreen. With its smoke firing penalty of 4.6 kilometers, I mean, if a destroyer ran it up to you and is trying to spot you, at 4.6 kilometers, you can almost catch him with your Hydro. So if they strayed too close, when they were trying to spot you in the smokescreen, got within 4, you're just going to gun them down. I mean, the Flint is a great Tier 7 ship for this. Moving on, the Florida. It's a good battleship. I like the Florida. Her guns are a bit too small. They're only 14-inch guns. Now, she does have a lot of them. I mean, 12 guns is 12 guns. So, I mean, she's not slow. 28.4 knots isn't terrible. She's got a decent turning circle. Her rudder shift's rather sluggish. But she's a good battleship. I could see her doing well. But she's not going to be able to do a bow-on slugfight with another battleship, especially one with bigger guns. California, I don't recommend. Again, look at it. She's slower. I think she's slower than that of the West Virginia and the Colorado. I mean, her big gimmick is she's got the same, same number of guns as the Florida, same caliber, but they're in a different arrangement. She's got 4 turrets instead of 3. And she does shoot around the same time. In fact, slower than that of the Florida. I would rather take the Florida. Shoots faster, same number of guns, and a bit, better mobility. But if you've got one, and you don't really know what else to use it, I guess you could take California. I definitely don't recommend her. She's just undergunned. She's got a lot of guns, so she can hurt somebody, but she's just not gonna do well, I think, in this. Moving on, Leningrad. I mean, this is a Russian destroyer. So you got 130s, you got decent reload, and decent range. 11.6 kilometers on these guns. You can run around. She's also really, really fast. 45 knots with the speed flag, plus her engine boost. This is a fast destroyer. So yeah, I could see Leningrad working pretty well. Torpedoes, she's got a 8-kilometer range on these torpedoes. I don't have a good captain on here. And she'll be able to stealth torp. I mean, without concealment expert, I don't have anything on this captain. I need to get rid of him. 7.3 base with 8-kilometer torpedoes. Leningrad can't stealth torp. And with 8 torpedoes doing 60 knots, she's capable. Especially if you run into a slow standard battleship, she'll do well. Lazo is another ship I actually really recommend because she's a kiter. With a base 17.3 firing range plus her rapid takeoff spotter plane, with a 10-second cooldown and 60-second airtime, yeah, she's a really good kiter. I mean, that's 5 minutes of spotter plane. And rank battles tend not to take very long, so she is a very, very good long-range shooter. With a 20% boost, I mean, you're looking at about 20 clicks for her range. Over 20 clicks. That is a very, very nice range to have on a cruiser. She does have torpedoes, so if you got caught at close range, you can defend yourself with torpedoes, but they are only self-defense torpedoes. I do recommend Lazo. I think she's going to be great, especially if you have experience kiting and just staying at range and just raining high explosive or AP at broadsides. Lazo is going to be a good boat for this. The Sinop. I would say this is probably going to be the most popular battleship because she is maneuverable and she's got good 16-inch guns. Yeah, her reload is 33 seconds, but I mean, these are 16-inch guns, and it's Soviet. So, it's Soviet. I mean, 26 all along the deck, not a whole lot of superstructure to hit, and she's got this little icebreaker here, so if you're shooting at a bow and Sinop, don't shoot the waterline. Shoot up, almost try to hit the top of the nose, just hit it right up here. And you'll pen. I've done it myself. So yeah, you'll definitely see a lot of Sinops. Those 16-inch guns, and it's being Soviet and the small relative lack of superstructure, she is going to be a pain to deal with, and you're going to see a lot of her. I think we'll see a lot of her. Poltava, I mean, look at that long, long nose, and all of that is 26 except for the icebreaker. I mean, she is a long girl here. I mean, look at her compared to the Sinop. Sinop is, the guns are much more forward on the ship than Poltava. I mean, this ship is huge and just begging for high explosive spam all over her. And AP to come in and hit her 26 millimeter plating. She is a huge girl. And the fact that she has 15-inch guns, or sorry, no, 14-inch guns, she's not going to be able to do a bow and fight with a Sinop. Now, she does shoot a lot faster, you know, looks like 5 seconds faster on the reload, but I mean, her guns are smaller, and she can't bow tank, and can't win in a bow tank fight. So yeah, I don't think Poltava is going to do well. T-61, one of the very few tier 6s I'm actually kind of recommending. I mean, its guns are good. 4-second reload, that's pretty good. Its stealth is where it really shines. 6.1 click is really nice for a tier 6 gunboat. With her nice torpedo armament, I mean, she's got better torps than the Leningrad. So she is a good boat, and she comes with hydro. 4 kilometers, so you can sit in smokescreen or rush smokescreens with the T-61 if it's a destroyer. Don't do it to a Flint. You'll regret your decision. But yeah, T-61, I think will do a great job. Moving on. The Munchin. Yeah, one of the tier 7 cruisers I really do recommend because, especially if you have Gunter lieutenants, she's a mean little gunboat. She's got 8 150mm guns, but remember, these are German, so they penetrate 38mm of armor, and they fire every 5 seconds. And if you can get the Gunter Lutyens talent to activate, where you get a 140 gun hits with a 5-second reload on 8 guns, you should be able to do this. You get another 7.5% reload buff. Also, you get a heal for 7 seconds, 300 HP for getting spotter ribbons. Not really going to be applicable for Munchin, but I mean, her reload and her gun ballistics, she can be a great little sticker in a little hidey spot, and she's going to do great. I mean, with 6-click torpedoes as well, she can be aggressive when she needs to. Now her armor is going to let you down because, again, this is a tier 7 cruiser. They're lightly armored. And she is a light cruiser. So she is going to take a pounding. But she can work. She can work if you're used to the mines or the Munchin herself. She's going to be a good boat to have. I do recommend Munchin. I think she's going to be a great boat for this. Scharnhorst. I'll use Scharnhorst here, but I'm not going to recommend Scharnhorst. I'm going to recommend the Gneisenau. Because the Scharnhorst guns are too small. She's pretty much a big cruiser with battleship burn time and relative armor. You do get an icebreaker here on the front of the Scharnhorst and Gneisenau, which appears to be bigger than that of the Sinop. But, I mean, you still got that weak point. But the German armor for the deck is nice, 50 millimeters. So, the armor is going to be nice. And the torpedoes, I mean, we all know the stereotype about Scharnhorst and Gneisenau players, where they want to sail between two battleships and torp both sides. But I think Gneisenau is going to work really well. It's something I'll talk about on another ship, since I don't have the Gneisenau. I only have the Scharnhorst. But I do not recommend Scharnhorst. I do recommend the Gneisenau, however. Alright, moving on. Probably one of the most, going to be one of the most popular ships, if you've got it. Of course, it's HMS Belfast. I mean, they call this thing the Windfast for a reason. She's another ship with radar, but she's got everything. Radar, hydro, and smoke. I mean, if you want to play a cruiser, the Belfast is going to be it. She doesn't have torpedoes, but she's got everything else. Her guns shoot every 7.5 seconds, and she's got high explosive on a British cruiser. Yeah, she's fragile, but that's expected of a British cruiser. You're going to see a lot of these. Anybody who's got a Belfast is going to be using a Belfast. I'm not. I have my own ship that I've actually already selected, and it's not the Belfast. I'll get to my ship later. But yeah, I see a lot of Belfast coming. There's a lot of plus sides for this ship. I mean, and the armor, yeah, she's kind of weak, but you're not supposed to see her. And with her artillery range being 15.4 kilometers, with a concealment of 8.9, I mean, she can dang near stealth radar. I mean, if you spot her, she's going to radar you, if you're a destroyer. So, and if she's smoked up, her smoke firing penalty is 5.3 kilometers, easily within her radar range. If you spot her when she's in smoke because she's shooting, she's going to radar you, and you're going to be in trouble. The only little bit of a downside is her slow turret traverse, but you can build for that. Grease the gears and the equipment slot for improving the main battery speed. I'll probably put that on myself for my Belfast just to get that extra speed. I don't need the AA guns anymore. I haven't played Belfast in a while, that's why I still have that. Alright, moving on. King George and Duke of York. I am not going to recommend these boats. Guns are too small. 14-inch. You keep hearing that about 14-inch guns. But yeah, these guns are too small. I mean, Duke of York and Prince of Wales, I mean, these are British battleships. So, I mean, you've got the HE you could use, but that's not really... With the cruisers being as weak as they are, you're going to be wanting fire and AP. And even on some of the battleships with the weak armor, you want AP. You don't want HE. I mean, don't get me wrong. You could try just to prove me wrong and take the Duke of York or the King George V. But the King George class, I don't think is going to be very effective. I would rather bring the Warspite and Queen Elizabeth than the Duke of York. I mean, at least Warspite, you've got the old rudder shift and turning circle. I mean, look at that, 550 meters. Sorry, I almost said kilometers. That'd been bad. For comparison, it's better than the Belfast turning circle radius. The Warspite can turn. Queen Elizabeth can't, but Warspite, I would recommend this over King George and Duke of York every day of the week. Her guns are bigger. She's got 15-inch guns. And, I mean, it's the grand old lady. Warspite would work. Warspite would be a very good Tier 6 battleship. Probably the best Tier 6 battleship in my opinion. You could bring Mutsu for her torpedoes and her 16-inch guns, but again, you don't need 16-inch guns. Alright, moving on. Vauquelin. French. Need I say more? Anymore? I mean, she's fast. How does her speed compare to that of the Leningrad? Does she actually get out-Frenched by a Russian boat? That she does. So yeah, I mean, if you didn't have the Leningrad, yeah, and this has got a speed flag, Vaklin would work. She is a fast destroyer, but not nearly as fast as Leningrad. If you wanted the play style of the Vaklin, you'd probably be better off with the Leningrad, because Leningrad's just faster. Her torps are faster, but she's French, so her concealment isn't the greatest. I mean, she'll still be able to stealth torp, but your guns are going to be your main point of damage with a French destroyer. And I just think the Leningrad's got it beaten every way. Alright, moving on. Algerie. Another heavy cruiser. She's going to be a kiter, backline. Her armor's weak. She does have engine boost, and she's got that gun reload booster and hydro. So, she's going to be a nice little, mean little cruiser to have. If you wanted to use Algerie, I could see it working well until a battleship had you got a battleship's attention, or you had to push in, because the Algerie is not going to do well at close range. I mean, 22-second turret traverse, her guns turn slow. Her guns also have a 12-second reload, which isn't horrible at tier 7, but she's got the French concealment, 12.1 kilometers on this tier 7 cruiser. She's going to be seen on her way in, because, I mean, she's French. They don't have good concealment, and their armor isn't the greatest. She's just waiting to get destroyed. I mean, right there is a Citadel right there. There's Citadel armor belt right there. She's just waiting to be Citadel by a battleship. So you would have to play her as a kiter at range. If you had to push in, she's not going to last at all. Zara, the Italian. I mean, she does have that full speed smokescreen, so she can work pretty well. She's got 203mm guns with SAP, which I think is going to work pretty well, especially against the battleships. She's got a good firing range, and she's not a bad boat. She's going to run into the same problems as the Algerie, but she can't set fires, but she does have the smokescreen to compensate. So now we're going to go to the ship that I'm going to be using in this game mode, and that is what I think is probably the best ship for this, HMS Hood. So why the Hood? Well, put it simply, the guns are big enough. The big thing that I've been kind of hiding is with the armor plating being 26mm, even Hood is susceptible to it. You don't need 16-inch guns to punch through. You only need 15-inch guns. And Hood can do that. She's also quite narrow. She's a nice slender girl. She's a fine member of the Royal Navy. So 15-inch guns, she'll be able to overmatch herself. Her armor layout, she's got this 51mm deck. Now she does have a fair bit of superstructure to hit. But I mean, if the HE shells land around the guns, she's going to bounce. Those HE shells. And at the side, so if you were slightly angled, yeah, your bow is still very, very vulnerable. But you got these armor plates here that stick out. So if they were aiming for, the water line you turned, there's a chance you can hit this little cheek here and ricochet the rounds off. Or they just hit your armor belt and bounce clean off. She's also fast. She's faster than Synop. Oops, sorry, that's concealment. 32 knots. Put on a speed flag. And she's up to 33.6 knots. She's a quick little battleship. Her concealment is 14.1, while her gun range is 18.6, so she can be able to slip around. And she's got a nice turning circle of 910 meters, so she can turn pretty quick. She is quite accurate with her guns. I even put the aiming system to make her a bit more accurate. But she's going to be, I think, a nice surprise for the Tier 7 ranked battles, because you're going to see a lot of Synops, and the Hood can take on a Synop, and she shoots faster. And she can pen its nose. But big thing for Hood is everybody's going to underestimate her. I think she's going to be the unexpected underdog, and the underdog I think is going to be able to win. Yeah, I think Hood is probably the best ship. She's also pretty low profile. She's slim, and she's got those hard-hitting guns. And I think Hood is going to be a great ship to work with. I mean, she's also got British HE, so if you had to shoot HE like a destroyer, she does have nice HE. 5,300 damage per shell with a 34% fire chance, and she's got 8 guns. I mean, I don't recommend spamming HE, but I think Hood could do it if you wanted her to, but it's her AP that's really going to hurt. So yeah, those are my recommendations. I would recommend first the Hood. I think she's going to be really good for this time because of her slimness. So she's not going to be able to, if she's bow on, she's not going to take as many shells as compared to the Synop, which is a bit wider than Hood. I mean, you can see especially more up higher with Synop. She does stick out of the water a bit more, but Hood is more streamlined. I mean, 15-inch guns will overmatch her. I mean, we'll all know what happened in history. But I think Hood's going to be a great ship. I think she's going to be great. So I would recommend Hood. Obviously, the Synop, the cruisers I mentioned, Yudachi, T-61, Munchin. These are going to be your best ships. And sadly, like almost all of them are premiums. But that's just going to be the nature of this. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments or message me on Discord what you guys think. What ships do you disagree with? What ships do you heavily agree with? And what ships did I forget? As always, guys, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Always looking for more viewers. And if you guys want to meet me out on the battlefield, I look forward to seeing you guys. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Have a great day.